Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mall Builders, eMag, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Thursday night live chat. YouTube Mall Builders live chat. God, just having to think about that. Dwight's saying thanks for tonight's hangout, but we are thinking about what kind of name we can give this besides hangout. Now we've kind of graduated to a standalone type show. We're not actually using Google's Hangouts anymore to broadcast the show with. So if anybody's got any ideas for a reasonable maybe a little catchy name, you can email me at southeastrails@gmail.com. God knew if I didn't put that in there, AJ's going to come up with something.
Oh, I already have something in mind.
Uh-oh.
It's reasonable. It's borrowing from classic model railroader issues. Thursday night bull session.
Yeah. Okay. See who this is coming in. Mr. Robert. How are you tonight?
Hello, sir. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, just fine. By the way, hi, AJ.
Hello there, Johnny.
I see we've got Jim and Bob and Dwight and John and Mark over in the chat right now. And John. Chris. I need to ask a favor of you.
Yes, sir.
Can you go post a link to this room over on the post of the for this show?
Yes, sir.
I forgot to post it. I'd appreciate it. So that way if somebody wants to jump in here on the panel, they can. But oh, well, I'll go ahead and reiterate the announcement from the other night. As we said, Barry Rozier is going to take the rest of the year off, and saying trying to get his new family settled in and all, and they're doing some stuff too at work that's going to require some extra time, I think it was. So he'll be out for the rest of the year, but he is going to do the live show. And we do have the live show this coming Saturday, which is the 15th. And I don't know, I think Barry and Bill are alternating now. Last month Barry wasn't able to text, so I texted. This month it turns out that Big Bill got a phone call, so he and his wife are going to have to make a trip down south to visit with a sick family member, and we wish them well. But I got the phone call, so now I'm hosting the Saturday night live show, and Barry will be taking that, so we'll see what happens in August. Who's going to lay out and I'll fill in for there, maybe. I'm starting to feel like a checker on the checkerboard. But anyway, Saturday night show is going to be a good show. We're going to have Ron's Trains and Things. He's a newer member. And our all-time favorite, Ray Bobel, will be joining us also Saturday night. So anytime you got Ray in a show, it could get rather interesting. So we'll see how that works out. See AJ over here, he's working on a N-scale building. Which one was that again, AJ?
American Model Builders Firehouse. I forget the exact name, but I'll check in a minute.
Okay.
Now that I've realized that I was gluing the roof panel onto the wrong side of the building.
Uh-oh.
It's okay, the glue didn't set up yet.
Yeah, that's the good thing about white glue. Using that on wood buildings. You were saying just before the show you was having a little bit of a problem with that building.
The wood is extremely thin, and so when it gets wet with anything, including glue, it turns into soft paper. And I've snapped 2 walls already, and a lot of the bracing on the roof panel here is because that panel is all crinkly from my first attempt at gluing it up. It is the Hillview Firehouse, kit number 647.
Okay.
From American Model Builders.
So what you think about it besides the warpage?
It's a beautiful kit. If it weren't for the fact that I can't look at it without it crinkling up, I would be loving this kit. It's like half the thickness of the laser art kits from branch line trains.
Yeah, they're just fairly expensive. Is why I like them so good. They're really expensive, so they let you populate a railroad with some really nice wood structures pretty inexpensively.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis put a comment up here. So what glue would you use on wood or plastic? Well, the plastic, Curtis, you definitely want to use plastic glue there. But as far as the wood structures, like AJ's doing now, you just have to put the bracing on the inside. Be sure to run vertical in the corners and horizontal at the top and bottom of the walls to help try and keep it from warping. Now, I have heard other people say what they do is they actually prime the wood, all the parts, before they start gluing them together, since you're using white glue. That way it helps alleviate some of that warpage. That seals the wood.
Paint both sides too, or stain both sides too.
Yeah. Yeah, that way it'll keep from going in one direction.
Somebody needs to introduce their puppies. 2 dogs in the background there.
Yeah, that's Robert. I think he's got 3 dogs.
That's not a nice way to talk about his wife.
Yeah. Alright, Curtis said no, gluing wood to plastic.
CA or epoxy? You use CA, but it gets brittle over time. You're better to use like an epoxy for that.
Yeah, 2-part epoxy.
Yeah, wood to plastic's a hard bond, but epoxy will glue anything.
No need of putting it on too thick.
Or you can use contacts a bit, but that's a lot of trouble.
Oh, I see one why you're having one problem there, AJ. You're getting that glue in there pretty thick. I want to try using a lot less than that.
That's a lot of glue? Okay.
Yeah.
All I do is paint it on like thick like paint would be.
Yeah, use a toothpick or something.
You just barely need a little bit of glue. It's going to soak into the wood. Very little.
Okay.
Now, aren't you glad you started coming on the panel?
Oh, absolutely. But in all seriousness, it does, let me know where I'm going wrong.
Well, it's not so much wrong, maybe a little misguided. We'll just try and guide you in a little different direction, a better direction.
No, they don't say that in the instructions. They don't tell you how much glue to use. They expect you to know it.
Yeah, figure that one out.
A lot of this is completely trial and error. That's why I would tell anybody start with wood kits. Buy some of the American Boulder Builders. They're $20, $30 or whatever. And, if you do destroy one, you're out $20 or $30 versus some kind of, some more expensive kit. You got to get your, get your hands dirty with it, get your feet wet. The best way to learn what's right or wrong is just to kind of do it. I mean, advice from other people is handy, but there's no substitute for, good quality experimentation.
So, anybody out there on the chat working on anything interesting? David, John, Dwight, Curtis, Mark? Yeah, AJ did come up with another good use for a square, and that was putting weight on the roof there. Also check the angle of the roof too.
What pitch is it?
12.
45.
Yes, yeah, it looks like 45 degree.
Rough.
Not bad for a guy from Pennsylvania, meaning me.
Well, I got a question. Andy, maybe you can help me here.
All right.
This section here, that's where my turntable is. And my stalls. I got 6 stalls. Now, all my tracks are on road bed.
Okay.
But they're saying to put the turntable directly on the plywood.
Yeah, you can't do both. You got to compromise one or the other.
So I thought maybe of putting cutting my road bed maybe every ½ inch, like halfway on the road bed, so that way I can make a curve all around it and just sit.
Can you bring the table up to the elevation of the road bed?
That's what he's well. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Really you need to decide what the important, in my opinion, decide whether it's better to put all the tracks around the turntable down at plywood height, or is it better to bring the turntable up? Now, Lloyd was talking about bringing the turntable up by setting the lip of the pit onto a piece of road bed so everything's the same height. I tend to favor the sinking it all down flat. The other thing you can do is buy you a sheet of cord, just a big old sheet of the material.
You see, I made slots about every inch.
Sure.
So that way I could just curve it around so it's going to fit properly.
Yeah.
And just sit it on top, because I got a turnout here, so I can't really bring down the tracks.
But really it's more of a scenic thing than it is worried about up or down grades wise. So you could do exactly what you're saying. There's not a thing wrong with doing it that way. Or you could buy a sheet of cork and just cover the whole thing in sheet cork that would be flush. That looks a little more prototypical because typically around an engine facility, there won't be any drainage off from the roadbed. Everything will be flat down on the ground. But there's no consistency. Different rails did it different ways.
No, I was going to fill it up like there's a roadbed here, and if I lifted out the roadbed, I'm going to have to fill it up with guck.
Guck. New
guck.
modeling term.
And the same thing with the stalls. I'm going to have to build it on top of the roadbed so that everything is the same level.
Yeah.
That's why I like the idea of the sheet cork. That works really well because with the sheet cork, you can just make everything flush. And I found some sheet cork that's
you can get sheet cord the same height as the roadbed.
Really close enough.
Okay.
It's now a lot of it that you buy that's in a roll is too thin. It's an 1/8 inch thick, I think.
Yeah, I got that. And it's not good.
It's too thin. But you could buy some stuff that's meant to be hung on the wall as a to put pins in or whatever, and it's about a 1/4 inch thick. Now roadbed, if I'm not mistaken, is about 5/16.
3/16.
Is it okay? So it's ever so slightly different in size, but it's so subtle that you could run the glue it down and just take a sanding block and sand the gap, so sand the joint, so it's that would be fair. I mean, it's so close to being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one way to do it. You could do like Chris was saying and take your table.
Dude, what I would do
and pop it up.
Yeah, what I would do is and I would make it look like the turntable is actually sunk. So what you could do is you could bring cork around the table, make the top of the pit level with your cork, so that everything is flush. And then build it up around, so then it actually looks like it's sitting. So you don't have that lip because you're going to raise it up, so it's not going to sit flush with your bench work.
Right.
So you're going to raise it up, so you just need to build up around it with the cork.
Yeah.
And make it look like it's sitting flush, like it's supposed to in the prototype.
But slope way out from it instead of having
Right.
drainage profiles. Feather it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's how I would do it. I understand what you're trying to do with the cork, but I think you're trying to do too much work for where it's much easier just to bring the table up or down. The turntable, that is, not your actual bench work.
Yeah.
Now the only thing is you gotta check on your turntable is if you have limitations to that and how it I don't know how it fastens underneath the table.
Yeah, could always lift up the table.
No, the turntable.
Well, I can't just lift up the turntable because then I have to lift up the what do you call it?
The divergent.
Roundhouse. The roundhouse. I got to lift up the roundhouse, lift up the table.
Well, that's why one reason I really like the idea of using sheet cork, even if it's just an 1/8 inch thick, and you have to go from 3/16 to an 1/8. That's a 1/16 of an inch. That's an insignificant amount. Cover that whole or a portion of that peninsula you have in that 3/16 or that 1/8 inch roll cork. Slope off for the roadbed. All your tracks go on cork. That also has the sound deadening benefit. We don't put our track on cork roadbed, or those who do, don't put their track on cork roadbed just to simulate drainage. There's a whole lot of ways to do that. The sound deadening properties, killing that artificial model train sound running on the tracks, is important. So the cork, instead of just laying it right on the plywood, I like the idea of laying the sheet cork. Also makes it easy for you to kind of take that sheet cork and take a knife to it and scratch out some,
How does those? And I'm not an HO, so how does those pits mount to the underneath of the table? Is there aluminum? Construction?
No, it's just I just have to cut a circle and just
drop it in.
Drop it in.
Gravity.
Yeah, it's a drop in tight.
Because my table, when I buy my table, and I'm a different scale, Well, my table comes up from underneath, and then has tabs on it and screws to the sub plywood.
Yeah.
So you can mess with that elevation a little bit by putting
shims.
Shims, thank you, Johnny. I lost my words there. Shims in there to adjust the profile of the pit. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying to you is, I'll share a video. I think, see, a guy in Oatscale did his table, and he has it on road bed. So he was able to keep the pit to where it would needed to be.
Well, that's not that far removed in extra scale. You could easily. The problem is less to do with the mechanics, the mounting it as it is with cosmetics. Because you could shim it or cork around it.
Yeah, but
all those diverging tracks and the roundhouse.
Yeah, exactly. So probably
all level.
Well, what about using a sheet of masonite, which is 1/8 of an inch?
That works too. Masonite doesn't have the sound deadening properties. It's the only consequence, but it totally solves every problem. But the sound deadening's not that big a deal. But it's not like you're going to be, Amtrak is not going to be trucking through there at 90 miles an hour, either. So
I don't know. We haven't seen Lloyd running trains yet.
Well,
you haven't?
Maybe.
I got a video. Go on my YouTube page and you'll see the trains running. You don't go to... You haven't dropped by my YouTube page, huh?
Not lately, no, I haven't.
No, well, it's not lately. It's maybe 4 months old.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Dwight said, if you soak the cork per instructions, it will bend easier. Meaning, if you want to put it around the table. David K he said he's mocking up a yard track, so that'll be interesting. You done that with templates or just doing it on brown paper? Yeah, how you doing, Andrew? Hey, there's yeah. Oh, Ron, I'm going to look you up if I come down to Australia. Johnny Rozier to full...
Johnny Rozier?
Yeah, says I'm hosting Saturday night. Now, this month's going to be big, Johnny, for Big Bill. I've been thinking about something too. Bill, when he gets back home, is probably going to stop and on his way up to shoot me if he watches the recording. I got something in mind I want to try out at the beginning of the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You'll see why I'm not. You'll be able to see why I'm not an actor.
If anybody was mistaken previously.
Well, you are an actor. You're just a different kind of actor.
Andy, I think I found it. I've got my masonite.
Yep. Oh, he said.
And I've got a roll of cork, which is very thin.
Perfect.
And if I put it on top, I come up.
Same house, rubber.
Maybe like 1/32 over. It's pretty much. Sorry.
It's close enough.
Oh yeah, it's very close. So all I have to do is cut probably just one sheet just past the turntable and just put some cork on it. That's it.
Yep. And I wouldn't put the masonite necessarily everywhere. So lay out where your turntable is going to go. Make your masonite, your cork larger than all of your tracks. But as soon as you get outside of that little V that is the tracks going to the roundhouse and you go back, leave the, just make the masonite that big. That way you could slope your scenery down away from it a little bit. So you'd have a little bit of natural undulation.
Well, I don't think I can because I've got 2 tracks here, which is going to be the Phillip, we call it the
service track.
Yeah, the 2 service track. You've got 1 track here and another track here, which is this is going to be a dead track. So I've got 2 tracks on either side, so I'm gonna have to put it. If I want everything on the same level, I pretty don't have much of a choice.
I got the perfect sign for that service track, Lloyd.
Perfect sign?
Yeah. For when the trains or locos are entering into the service facility to get water, sand, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You put an Exxon sign up right there at the beginning, and right under it says "Grab a tiger by the tail." That used to be Exxon's logo.
Yeah, I remember that. But the problem is, this is in Canada.
Hey.
I have to. I've got my refinery is all Petro Canada, so I'm gonna have to put a sign of Petro Canada. Oh yeah, and I finally finished my my staging area. I've got the reversing loop done.
How's it working?
It's working great. Took me a month to figure out what everybody meant by AR1 and the wiring, but everything works. I had a test run and great.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, the AR1 works good. It's that's your auto reverser.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse loops are one of those things in modern electronics that'll spoil you. Because I'm from the DC days, and reversing loops were complicated.
Not anymore.
I do have another reversing loop, which is my Helix. That one should be done probably in the next few months.
Yeah, because out there at Stora, we got one line, the inside main line, that runs inside the folded dog bone, and it's got a loop at each end. So instead of really putting a reverser at both loops, we put the reverser on the straight track.
Yep. A lot of people really get confused with that. I mean, a real popular layout, especially simpler layout, is a dog bone or a folded dog bone design where you loop around and have 2 tracks running as a 2-track mainline. People misunderstand this all the time, that the moment you put a crossover in that track, you've got a reverse loop. But with ARs, the reverse loop is not at the end. It's in the double track mainline where the crossovers are.
Yeah. Actually, oh shucks, I can't, Greg of Fish Plate Films, one of his videos, I think last year, that he's got on his channel, he explained the, how to set the reversers up on a Y, so that you didn't get shorts on it.
Yeah, I've got a Y on mine. A Y is a fascinating piece of prototype track work to me. I like Ys. I think they're also really common in Appalachia or in mountain railroading. Balloon tracks or big loops, those aren't very common in railroading, period, especially not in Appalachian mountains. They're virtually non-existent. But Ys are prevalent. They're, many, hollows or branch lines divide off with a Y.
Yeah.
But they're hard to model. They're hard to find room for a Y.
Yeah, they also use them to turn locos around too.
Absolutely.
I think way he was explaining that you wound up using 2 reversers in the Y to get it all to work right.
I wonder why it's necessary. If you put one leg of it depends. So if you have some other complicated situation that I'm not accounting for, sure. But generally speaking, if you just put one leg of the Y on a loop, just wood turnout, a couple cuts, on the 2 legs. Take one leg of the Y, put an AR on it, you're covered.
Yeah.
But it depends. If you have track running off from all 3 directions, then that changes the game a little bit too.
Yeah, well, I think that's what he did. He had track coming in on 3, because actually the track was coming out of the yard, hit the Y so it could go either direction. They also used it for turning locos.
Oh, and remember we were talking about my layout, the design. It doesn't always fit properly, right?
Well, I was just thinking my way through operating your layout. I do that for any track plan I see that I find okay. I think my way, how would I operate that?
It's because I was going to say, I gave the wrong dimension to build the track planner. I missed 8 inches. And because of those 8 inches, I had to shorten this table by 8 inches. And because all the curves, I couldn't change anything. So basically I had to cut my turntable and the stalls and move it forward and basically kind of redo the tracking.
Yeah.
So it was a little puzzle.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's pretty important. Bill said that before, talking about track planning. It's so important to have, it's really hard to take a piece of paper track plan. I mean, this has been a problem for 50 years or more in model railroading. Take a piece of paper, draw you out a track plan, scale. Then go try to put that same track plan in your road. Many times it won't fit. Feels like it should, but these slight little adjustments just end up with a track down the center of a wall or something.
Yeah, so those 8 inches really kind of made things tough.
Sure. You got a good plan.
Yeah, somebody here is sharing a track plan. Who's this doing share?
It'd be Ralph's.
Yeah, that's Ralph.
So it takes over your camera in this room.
No, he didn't take over on this time.
Well, no, it don't pop up full screen, but it takes over where your camera is.
Yeah. Your mic might be muted there, Ralph, because I can see the cursor moving, but I don't hear you talking.
You're right. Happens again. Yeah. You only need one reverse module for a Y.
Yeah.
So this is your main line, and this is where you're turning things around. So when you go in here, this section is what reverses.
Okay.
As long as your whole tray can fit in that reverser.
Exactly. From this point to that point has to be the whole train. Or if you're turning just an engine, then maybe 2 or 3 engine lengths.
And the only reason why is because those were crossing each other too.
Yep.
There's not a way to skin that cat. It just depends on your particular situation. My Y is kind of a unique situation where it has fairly long connecting.
Everything you do is
Connected, so.
different.
Oh, we got a new one in here, Greg E. He says, hello all. How you doing, Greg? Welcome to the show. Get back to AJ if he's still there.
I is here.
right. Well, before the show, you told us, but if you don't mind, for the show, is that the only American Mall Builders building you got?
Yes. It was actually the first wood kit I bought. Let me see where the other boxes are. One, two. I have a. Oh no! I also have their blindside structures. Why does it not say the name? It's like a little shanty shack. Let's get it in camera. And of course, my camera shows it backwards.
No. No, we see it right. Only you see it backwards on your screen.
Okay, that's fun. So I also have that, and I have a Northwest scale modeled Mayberry station.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Northeastern scale model stuff. They just didn't have they've never had a lot out there as far as kits go. They have a lot of lumber, a lot of material, but.
What about those houses we were looking at just before the show?
Oh, yes.
Those were wood, right?
Yeah, these are all from Branch Line's Laser Art kits. It's 3-row houses.
Okay, Branch Line. Yeah.
Yeah. And has nice back area. You have the option of just putting in steps from the doors, or you can put in a little deck, or you can put in an addition. So 3 ways of doing it. And then there's their Avon house, which is a larger structure. And I'm also doing their church. Just says church. Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I can't see. Is it the N scale?
Yes.
That's the reason why you can't see it.
I know.
My only complaint with these kits is their is the castings that they have for the steps and for the spire on the church. They're a bit on the crude side.
Yeah, rough side.
Very white metal.
No, they're epoxy resin type of thing. Let's see how good a view we camera this way.
Oh yeah.
Those are the steps. I'm trying to see if I can show you just how you can hardly see on there. Let's try on top of white. Swing the light around. That's all like hidden in shadow here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's rough. I'm debating whether to use these or to try making my own out of styrene. Chimneys aren't too bad.
Okay, that spire is.
Let's get the spire out of the box. This detail really does not show up too well. That way it does. It might look better once I start, dry brushing it. It just feels a little bit on the crude side compared to the rest of the kit. But I'm not scratch building the spire. I'm not that insane yet. Okay.
All right, AJ, John Dilly's got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can answer now. He says, AJ, how do you keep the wood from warping after you paint stain it?
I've not gotten to that step yet.
Paint the other side.
Oh, I did try that with the firehouse. The firehouse, I don't know if you can see, but the firehouse has been painted, and it spent like 3 or 4 months between 2 pieces of glass, and it still came out a little bit on the wonky side. I've not touched it for over 2 years now, and it finally flattened out.
I can tell you what I did is, because I've got laser art also, I've got 6 houses that I did. And what I did is I painted the the front first. And just before it finished drying, I painted the other side. I put it flat on the table, and I put weight on it, so it kept it flat. The only thing is, after everything is dried, I did have to do a little bit of touch up afterwards. All the pieces were painted before assembling.
Yeah, that's what was my idea with the firehouse. Now with all these others that I'm doing, I'm taking the reverse approach. I'm assembling the main structure, and then I'm going to try painting it, hoping that by having everything, connected and braced and everything, it will do less warpage.
Yeah, it will alleviate. Just gotta keep in mind, if you use an acrylic paints, that's water based. So, I mean, like we talked about just before the show, give it a light dusting inside and out of primer.
Yep.
Because that'll dry relatively fast, and as long as you're painting, the primer would work. Now, if you're going to stain, no. Just like Andy was saying, stain both the inside and outside.
I'm leaning toward airbrushing it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's like the safest approach.
Yeah. Mike's muted, Ralph.
My question is what kind of paints are you going to use?
Well, the primer that I have on hand is True Color.
Okay.
So that's like a almost like a nail polish type of thing. It thins with acetone, so.
Okay. That's good because there's no water in it.
Yeah.
So then, what's your color going to be? What paint are you going to use for color?
Haven't decided yet. I've not gotten that far ahead of me.
If you're going to use an acrylic paint, try and find one that will mix nicely with alcohol or acetone, and that way you don't put any water into the mix, and it reduces the warpage.
Okay.
The water that does it to you when it gets into the wood and it makes the wood swell.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
by using the alcohol or the acetone, it doesn't soak in as much, and if it does, it dries a lot more quicker or a lot faster.
Yes, it evaporates a lot faster.
Doesn't give it a chance to work.
And you can take that to the bank from the expert.
Oh, I
My
know.
walls are not warp at all, and I use just acrylic paints.
Did you brace them?
No, I did, like I said, one piece at a, like every piece were painted prior to assembling, and it was, for drying purposes, it was put on the flat ground, and I put some weight on top to keep the pieces straight. And once assembled, all I had to do is a bit of touch-ups here and there.
So did you airbrush or did you brush paint?
Brush paint.
But that's also HO scale, so it's a bit thicker than N scale.
You got
What, Ralph?
when you use brush paint, you can't put it on as evenly as an airbrush does. and you end up getting spots that have a lot thicker paint. There's more water content.
Well, my building looks okay. And I've got 7 buildings from laser art done that way.
Coach, they are pretty thick walls. The ranch side trades are pretty thick walls. American Boulder Builders and some of the others are fairly thin. So, a different wood wood's different. It has a personality. Some wood's older, drier. There's different personalities. And I stayed ahead of time because I like to treat my walls. It's Appalachia. The buildings are in rough shape. It's not the wealthiest part of the country, so they don't paint it as often. So all my buildings have some effect like peeling paint or fading, or etc. So I tend to stay first anyway, but I cross brace everything,
Yeah.
and I still have some warpage.
Now, those buildings that you've done, are they a plywood or are they a solid piece of wood, like wooden stock, or is it a plywood?
Which one of us are you talking to?
You.
Oh, me. It's the tops are like a plywood type of thing, and the sides are grooved. It's milled wood.
Yeah, solid wood. You can't see the layers of wood on the edges.
You can paint it with just about anything. You're not going to get any significant warpage. It's the other wood that does, because of the grain that's in it.
Mm.
And being that it's N scale,
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see much warpage.
But we shall find out soon enough. I'm nearing the point where I need to start painting.
Alright, we got a question up here. Greg E., one thing I wanted to ask was, do you have a webcam? I think this question would be better answered outside the show, maybe. Go ahead and ask it anyway, because Andy may be able to do a quick and dirty answer on it. Greg's got here. I am new to the Loc sound decoders. Should say sound decoders, period. How do you get into the sound files in the decoder to fine-tune the sounds using a NCE power cap? Any info would be greatly appreciated. And Ralph, I'm sure you could probably answer that also.
Yeah, I'd say you can.
Well,
Maybe better.
Go ahead.
Well, now doing it from the cab is a little bit limiting because you've got to change CVs or configuration variables. You can't get into the sound files in a way that you can manipulate them, but you can program different sound files to be fired by different actions, so to speak. The real benefit to the ESU Loc sound decoders is that you can put them on a programmer and do very serious work, like take any wave file that you have on your computer and put that file up there. There's people put Christmas music and various other things like that. The sky's the limit. But just changing CVs just from your throttle, it's fairly limiting. The easier way to do that, also very limited function, if you have the computer interface for NCE, is use JMRI, but you're still limited by just saying what sound files are present, fire at this time, by changing this particular CV. And I'm pretty sure, actually I'm positive, ESU has a CV reference guide on their site for what CVs you can adjust.
They do. Now, if it were me, I would give NCE a call and talk to Ed. He's the service guy, and he will walk you through it. They have great customer service at NCE.
There's a lot of reasons to like NCE.
He'll tell you how to use your controller to change your CVs and do whatever.
Well, I want to kind of switch directions just momentarily here, just to let everybody know. Looks like Andrew got another haircut.
What bet did he lose this time?
I don't know. He didn't say.
Andrew from Australia?
Yeah.
Well, it's about time.
Every time he loses a bet with those kids,
with the scouts, they wind up cutting his hair.
Down him and shave him every now and then. That's the only way he gets his haircut. So when it comes time to him thinking he needs a haircut, he starts gambling with them or something. So
they probably cut his beard off.
Oh, they trimmed it back pretty good one time. They got his beard, his hair, everything.
Yeah, I about didn't recognize him.
Yeah, he said Cubs got to him again.
Yep.
You may be on something there, Andy. Instead of spending money on a haircut, he'll just make a bet that he knows he's going to lose to get a free haircut.
That's absolutely. And I'm not sure that that's the highest quality haircut a man's ever had, but it's still pretty cheap. So
yeah, they say raised $1,500 this time.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty expensive haircut either way. That's pretty awesome. I have a hard time saying Andrew's an awesome guy because he loves to pick on me, but that's my buddy. So.
Hey Johnny, did you see Ari says hello?
Oh yeah. Hey, how you doing, Ari?
Hey Ari.
Got a little tongue tied there.
Yeah, that's what Martin says too. Got scalped again, Andrew. You'll do anything for a free haircut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Craig said that some of the volumes are too loud, like the bell, compressor, the drone. They drown out everything.
Oh, that's adjustable.
Somewhere in the, they're going to tell you what the CVs are for the bell, the compressor, and so on. And those are the CVs that you have to change. They're the volume.
Yep. And they'll be like,
there's a master volume that does everything.
Yep.
And then there's an individual volume.
Yeah, I pull my masters back pretty significantly, and then I might bring a few of the subtle things up because I think every locomotive we get, I think it's just awful loud. They're trying to impress us with the sound effects. They just make them just too loud. But I'll go look for those. But they vary from decoder to decoder, or at least from manufacturer to manufacturer. But you could go set those between a 0 and a 127 setting for that volume. So you could set, they'll come out at 100. You can set them back to 30 or something and have something like a quarter of the percent or 25% of the overall volume. But I tell you, JMRI, you cannot go wrong with that. I'm a big JMRI fan anyway, but what I say to other people is if you just use Decoder Pro, just use Decoder Pro just to change these audio settings, it's worth the $50 for buying that interface. The software is free. So for $50, you could make your life a lot easier figuring this thing out. You could open up just an interface where you'll see there's a tab for sound files, and you'll see all those different sound settings, and you could just drag a bar down. It's incredibly easy, and you absolutely get your money's worth if you never do anything else with JMRI except use it as a programmer.
ESU has a forum on their site that you can ask questions and they will respond. You have to use the registration form and then log in. That's one way of finding out which ones to change. The other one is to I believe in the support section or the downloads, there's some other info.
I'm gonna go see if I can find that CV reference guide anyway.
That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, well, good man.
Well, we knew that.
I'm sitting on a milk crate.
So, who stole your chair?
Oh, you missed that one. Okay, it went right over your head.
Oh.
Bruce the mailboy.
Yes, I do. I know about Bruce the mailboy. That's right. He is. Ralph is working the Google on the internet machine. Then. You can't go wrong with ESU decoders. They were my favorite before just because of flexibility, but now that they have that full throttle feature set, and now that they have a pretty good selection for Steam, it's pretty hard to argue for any decoder manufacturer except for ESU. And TCS has got some really good ones, though. I mean, TCS does have some really good ones, but
yeah, Marty in Australia he's telling him also a good, cheap, easy way is to use JMRI. All he has to do is buy an interface for the NCE to the PC. That way, makes it easier because you got the graphical to see what the volume is and what you want to do with it.
That's a good idea, Martin. That's why we keep you around, buddy.
I tell you what, that Martin guy has some good ideas sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know why? Because he's going back down to the club and eating garlic prawns again tonight. Saw that earlier. I think he's going to turn into a prawn.
He's kind of prawn-like anyway, so.
Yes, Greg, it does matter on the US interface. You have to get the one from NCE for it to work right.
Yeah, and you can go buy a dedicated programmer interface, like Soundtracks makes one that's well supported with sound decoders and stuff. Or I'm a really big fan, and Martin down under also is, of the Sprague, which is a dedicated programming interface, which you wouldn't use to control your layout. You wouldn't do that anyway because you have an NCE system, but just for programming. They are great for that. And there are occasions where that makes the most sense. But since you have an NCE system, just buying the NCE, whatever that is, and I'll go look that up in a second too, gives you the most bang for the buck because you get all the programming benefits that you would get either way, but you also get the capability to expand a little as you kind of feel froggy. You can expand a little bit and do a little bit of JMRI to layout control interfacing when you feel comfortable for free. You've already got the interface. Everything else you do is just free benefit. Or Ralph looks for that CV, I'll get him the NCE component.
Yeah, Ralph, while you're doing that, Phil Wyman said, Ralph, Bruce the mailboy got your chair? They must have finally called you, LOL.
Yeah.
Mark says his preference is for decoders is TCS, but he's got a lot of low sounds. TCS is a good decoder too. I can't rule them out. I think it's not a bad idea to standardize around a single decoder. I don't think it's absolutely required to standardize. JMRI would let you use a plethora of different decoders, but I'm just going to standardize around ESU. There's some really nice benefits, and that full throttle feature set, that's incredible.
It is.
And for people who don't know, full throttle lets you do something that we've never been able to do on our models without what they call manual notching. And that is, you could be crawling up a grade with a train on its knees, is the expression, at 4 miles an hour, but the locomotive's at notch 8, or the steam locomotive's just screaming. But that's really hard to do in model form. But with full throttle, you can, electrically at least, disconnect the sound effect or how hard the locomotive is acting like it's running with how actually fast it's pulling across your HL scale or N scale or whatever track. So with full throttle, you can set that thing down. You can hold the speed. So you can pull it up to 5 miles an hour and hold the speed, press the drive hold, and then you could kick that thing up the notch 8, and it would be screaming at 4 miles an hour. Which is a big thing for me. My layout's entirely on grade and a lot about helper locomotives. So when the helpers are shoving over the top of the grade, they're at 2, 3, 4 miles an hour, and they are on their knees.
This is not helping. This is not working.
I was looking at their sports section. I didn't see it easy.
It's not.
Well, Greg just pulled the trigger. He said, okay, I'm hitting the buy now button for the NCE USB interface from Tony's Trains.
Okay, I don't know. I'll look for that. I can't remember what the file number was for it. Yeah, can't go wrong with Tony's Trains. I got stuff too. Did you say you could not find that CV reference guide?
No, I can't.
I think they call it a CV index. I'm looking for that.
Oh, he's got an NCE. That'll be in the book, wouldn't it? Or decoders come with the index, right?
Well, it won't be in the NCE. It'll be in the lock sound book.
Yeah,
Yep.
lock sound book.
So it depends on which one you have. I found the one for the ESU lock sound, the lock sound select manual. But the Select and the V4 have some differences. And actually, I'll pull that one up on screen in just a second. We'll just take a look at it together. This is May 2012.
Yeah, don't worry. Stop. Instruction.
Well, hopefully for those that were asking earlier about how to keep the wood walls from warping, we were able to give them some good ideas on that. Seeing everybody's in research mode right now.
I'm going to paste a link in the chat. Keep in mind you've got to edit this link because we have to shortcut YouTube.
The best way to keep wood walls from warping is to use plastic wood.
Wood works just fine. Actually, here, I'll show you what I do.
Oh, you can get metal angle iron and put that in there if you wanted to.
That seems a little intense. Intense like camping. I do, so this is going to floor in it, but you can see there's a piece of material, there's a piece in the corner. And because of some of the structures on this structure, I also put a vertical up in the center here. And then you can see here, there's a 1/8 inch piece of square stock running vertically around the outside. But I step it up inside the wall just a touch. And then on my scenery base, I put a little square of wood so that when you set the building gun over it, it positively positions. So if I bump the layout, the house won't reposition or move. I do the exact opposite sometimes also depending on the particular application. For example, this one, I wanted to put the electronics directly on it. So what I did is I did the exact opposite. So this one has a wood frame. This one has a wood frame underneath, you know, in this hole cutout, there's a, you know, which I left the paper underneath it, but there's a wood frame, 1/8 inch wood frame, and then the structure has a frame around the bottom, of it, just set inside, so that it locks down into the position, and it's positively positioned. Or like that blue house I showed you, which is the exact opposite, because the mount is above. But I want everything positively positioned. I mean, I even do that for a lot of the little accessories. Like this has a, you know, a little couple pieces there for it to positively position that to. Or my outhouses, you know, remember this is Appalachia 1950. There are a lot of outhouses. I build T-pins or needles into the foundation so I can shove that needle down into my styrofoam foundation, positively position that, which is especially useful since my aisleway is effectively the river a lot of times, which means there's a lot of outhouses right along the edge of the basement.
So much you're swimming on your layout.
You know, those people weren't that afraid of it. That was the reality, but, you know, out of sight, out of mind. It wasn't even out of sight. It was just out of mind, apparently. And then that's what made, and then like all these telephone poles are made out of,
all right, we'll see you, Andrew.
Made out of skewers, so they have a point through them. This one just happens to be shoved through there, but all of my telephone poles have pointed bottoms. Not very prototypical, but can't see it.
All right, Greg said you guys are great. Thank you for the input. I will keep you updated and see if the decoder smokes or works after the interface is hooked up. Kidding, and thank you guys in the chat for the input.
You'd have a hard time. I'm not saying it's impossible to fry something with what we're doing, but it's pretty tough to break this stuff.
As long as he doesn't change any of the wiring, he won't fry it.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to damage it by changing CVs. I can't imagine that it's even possible.
How you doing, Stu? He just came in. Stu Structures.
Lots of brown trout in the streams. Yes, sir. There probably should be. People had a different idea about some of that stuff prior to the EPA. So, I mean, I'm not so sure that it's entirely changed in Appalachia to this day. There's a lot of, you know, not wonderful stuff poured into the streams. But back then, you know, many people had septic drained right into the nearby river.
All right, Mark just popped in on his phone.
What is this we're looking at? What do you got, Markabus? I see track on green.
Santa Fe all the way.
Oh, probably
It's a running layout.
Running layout.
Everybody mark your calendars. Mark actually has a running layout.
Where's the caboose? That's a pretty long train, too.
He's beat Chris now.
Uh-oh. And we're good about challenges around here. Johnny,
great things come in time.
Okay. The master volume is CV63.
What about the bell and horn, then? That was the ones I had a hard time finding.
I'm trying to find the horn. I got the bell. The bell is CV283, and it's set at 99. So I'm assuming it goes from 1 to 255, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I also dropped a link to every one of the Loc Sound manuals, and in the manual there's a programming guide that has the particular CVs that are what they are. Then you have to look at the
the horn volume is 275 and it's set at 128.
So 127 stamps should be 0 to 127. So if you wanted half the volume, put it down to 63. 63.
Yeah, Phil Wyman said, chew woo, you go, Mark.
Well, you just got a trade running. You go turn your video off. We would enjoy watching the trades, brother. I would have to run my trades at an unnatural speed to jump this bridge right here, right this second. So, you lost a car somewhere.
You lost a whole string of cars.
The other night, you lost the whole train now.
Yeah, go with the Southern line. They don't lose their cars.
I love the Southern. I modeled the Southern for a long time. I know that's your railroad of choice, but I modeled the Southern. When I lived in Knoxville, the Southern was what everybody modeled.
Actually, I named it Southeast Rails. So anything in the Southeast I could run.
Yeah,
L&N and
NC,
W. You know, Florida coastline.
Yeah, the FEC. I like the NC and St. L real well. There's not a lot of stuff available for it, but I like the NC and St. L. But it has that, it's an L&N flavored railroad for some reason.
Yeah, I figured that way you give me a wider variety. So,
but especially if you're going to model around, like I said before, my favorite areas on the prototype are areas where multiple railroads interact or interchanges. So if you model, the interchange between the Southern and the L&N or the whatever the Georgia Railroad is that Gino's such a fan of, or some of those.
Central Georgia.
Yeah, the COG. Yeah.
And the line family line, coastline.
Yeah, and he modeled Gino's lines.
SCLN.
Oh, yeah, the SCL, the Seaboard Coastline, and the ACL, the Atlantic Coastline.
Yeah.
But what does the L&N flavor actually taste like, the process? Greedy. Kind of greedy.
How you doing, Prof?
Sort of has a Cajun flavor, I would think.
Well, it depends on the era. It started tasting like diesel later in its iteration, but up until the early 40s, it was, some nice heavy oil as a flavor.
Yeah, we got Ron and Marty lurking somewhere around there in the chat, Prof.
It's like you got to tell them, team up on us easy enough.
Now he decided to double up on his engines.
Yeah, and this is where the transformer is going to sense that it's too high in amperage, and it's going to die like it did the last time.
Yeah, Prof said that's a stall current test.
Yeah.
Somebody's listening to TV.
They'll rot your brain.
Yeah, next time you get a chance, AJ, if you're out at restaurants and all, grab you some of their toothpicks. That works real good for applying small amounts of glue. Ah, there you go. I don't think you got a shortage there.
No, I have like 1,500 of these sticks from Walmart.
That's good stuff. And skewers are really good, especially getting down into a taller bottle of glue.
Mm-hmm.
Or a deep ear cavity.
Or what?
Or a deep ear cavity.
Yeah, they do double duty for that. They make good telephone poles, and
I use my work mat. I drop a little bit of glue onto the work mat and dip into that.
I'm going to glass as soon as I can find me a deal on a big enough, thick enough piece of tempered glass, because glass is not cheap.
Ooh, John got him a good deal last night at the store as we were leaving out. Happened to say something about it, and Brian said, well, there was some glass sitting out there in the parking lot if somebody hadn't thrown it away yet. It was from their old displays. It was shelving. He said it's got a metal frame around it. We went out there and looked, found it, and there's a piece out, a couple of pieces. One piece didn't have the metal frame around it, so we picked that up. It was about 2 feet long, about 16 inches wide.
It's not perfect. Big enough that you could build a structure on it and have...
Yeah, it's probably a good 1/4 inch. It's tempered glass, goes for shelving. But, yeah, John's got this workbench. Somebody in May gave it to him. Yeah, I've been sitting out there in the barn. His dad cleaned it up, painted it, moved it upstairs, and good stout wood workbench. But the top on it's not good for building models. So I told John he needed to get a piece of glass put on it. So he's got it now.
You mean they kept it around, hadn't thrown it out as bad as... Of course they hadn't thrown it out.
Yeah.
How about window glass from an automobile?
As long as you don't flex it.
Yeah. Tempered is great because, one, tempered glass is always perfectly, almost to the microscopic level, perfectly flat. So if you can get it in a position where it's pretty level, you have an incredibly scientifically or the physics of it are perfectly flat to work off of, and then glues don't adhere to it very well. So
yeah, Prof said auto glass equals not guaranteed flat.
That's what I was thinking too. A lot of them are concave, convex.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the side windows, not the front
Yeah,
and rear
they
windows.
still have a little slight bow in them.
Yep.
Not to mention, I'm just not sure how the safety glass would hold up under knife and that kind of strain. I don't know. I just know tempered glass is. I'm not saying you can't scratch it, but no X-Acto is going to break it. So
yeah, I mean car glass, a sharp object with a sudden hit on it would probably bust it.
It'll
Like
shatter.
fire departments use those hammerless center punches.
Yeah.
That way, if they got somebody trapped, they go to the bottom corner of the window and use that, and that usually shatters the window so they can break it out.
Is that where to pop it? Is that at a corner of it?
Yeah, usually.
Yep.
Yep.
I got one of those little hammers in my car, so I don't know why, and I probably wouldn't think of it if something happened, but it comes with some roadside assistance kit, so I put it in the glove box.
We just thought you were trying to be like Cornelius from Rudolph.
Rudolph?
Yeah, remember Cornelius, the little miner guy with the little hammer?
All right. I'm thinking Rudolph. What's that? What kind of Rudolph story about Rudolph involves cars or something? All right.
They stumped you.
Got him again, Chris.
It's entirely possible to do.
So what do I have to raffle? About 50 points? He's only got about what, 20?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, come on.
Get more points if he has his hat on.
Listen, I just got to get you before you get me, that's all.
That's right. Well, ain't no more power to you. I won't discourage you from picking on me. I'll encourage you to do it.
Trying to make us dizzy, Mark. Waving this camera around.
I remember those old copper face throttles.
Yeah.
MRC.
I had a couple of the little wireless. Okay. I had a couple of the wired but handheld ones of those copper ones. They're pretty big and bulky, but with a little spirally cord on them.
I remember those.
The best we could do back in the day.
You're dating yourself.
Well, I mean, the first wireless handheld throttle I ever got was an Aristocraft designed for, but it still spoke to track power, but DC controlled track power. We used those on the club layout. We had like a dozen of those, and that way we could have wireless walk around throttles everywhere. But they were Aristocraft garden style. It was the only wireless you could do back then. Nowadays, you can just do it with your phone. It's an amazing world. It's a great time to be a modeler.
A model railroader.
Yeah, it's a great time to be, especially if you like the operating part. You know, I mean, I'm not saying it's not got good from a, building structures perspective too, but from with DCC and all the advances in DCC and the cost effectiveness of it, if not the downright cheapness of this stuff, it's a great time to be a modeler.
Yeah, you can run trains and order pizza at the same time.
Yes, sir. It will automatically bring your train to a stop, but yes.
It won't keep running if you switch over to do something on the phone, huh?
Right. If you drop out of the app, or the default configuration is to bring your train to a stop. Now, I have momentum on my train, or on my locomotives, actually set fairly high. So if I bring a train up to say 25 miles an hour running around the layout, and I cut it, pull it all the way to nothing, it'll take 30 feet to stop it. I mean, that's from, probably doing 50 miles an hour taking that. The maximum speed on my railroad is 25 miles an hour, so stopping distance is more like 20 feet. But I like a whole lot of momentum. I want to control the momentum, though, by how many cars are connected. So I want to be able to look at the car card system, like what me and Chris, the group of us on here, have been working on, talking so much about the railroad operating system, I want to look at I want to do an ops mode program. So right on the main line, programming change based on how many cars are connected and whether they're loaded or not.
Yeah,
So it would take the momentum up.
Yeah, you're talking momentum. Prof said, warning, open drawbridge ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and I will have a couple lift outs when I build the lower sections of the layout, assuming that I get there. I've designed my railroad in such a way is that if I don't build a new house and sell this one in 5 or so years, then I will build the lower decks. But my goal right now is to build the top 2, but I could build several more below. If I ever get that far, I will have a couple lift outs, just 2. But it's not meant to take those out to go through. The whole railroad's in here. So if you take those out, I'm just going to shut the whole railroad down when you do by DCC, because I'm going battery power. So it will wireless DCC using Tab Valley's system. So whatever, if you pull the lift out, shuts the whole railroad down. It's the only way to be safe. There's no other way you could be safe with battery power or current keepers, except to just sit a DCC command to bring everything to a halt. Unfortunate, inconvenient, but sending a $500 locomotive, to its death is pretty inconvenient.
Yeah.
Lift outs are a problem. I don't know exactly what else you would do. Put derails. I mean,
Yeah,
single point derail.
Stick a pin up there between the rails, a piece of foam rubber on it so they run into that.
Yeah.
Right there at the break.
Right. But
I hope that whoever picked it up is going to remember to put the pins in,
And you can even do that with a servo, shove that servo up. But, I mean, the bottom lift out is going to be at like 32, 36 if I build this, if I build the bottom decks. So a lift out's a requirement.
Or swinging K.
Prof says you could just deploy all-wheel pickup and rail treatment properly and avoid the uncontrolled condition in the first place. Uncontrolled. I agree. I do. But boy, you could sure. And I listened to Joe Fugit's argument about it is cheaper to put batteries in equipment, or especially current keepers. His argument was it's cheaper to put current keepers than to wire frogs. But any other complicated track work, and I build my track work, of course, head lay, head build, however. So being able to get away from wiring sub. Now, I'm still going to have power on the rails. There's no question about that. I don't want to put batteries in all my passenger equipment or ever caboose or any of that stuff. And I still need to do detection or occupancy detection for signaling. So power on the rails is still a requirement no matter what. But I would love the idea of just putting just power instead of having to deal with DCC boosters and all the caveats and issues of that. So I'm not against charging from the rails. If that can be done safely, I'm into that. I'm definitely going to do occupancy detection. I'm definitely going to light passenger cars that way. But wireless DCC would be awesome.
Yeah, Cool Tropolis, small railroad, asked how long do batteries last in a train?
Varies a lot. Depends on what you could fit. I have the benefit of this railroad in 1950 was all steam, all big, heavy articulateds with long haul tenders. So I'm on a road to put batteries in. I shouldn't have any problem getting an hour plus run time. And my opinion is that if we have this conversation again in about 20 years, all the locomotives you buy will be battery powered with Bluetooth or some kind of connection to your phone. I don't love the Bluetooth because I want to be able to automate with JMRI, the JMRI warrant system or Railroad & Co. or something like that. I will use JMRI, but I think battery integration to our railroad equipment and wireless control will be as common as battery in your cell phone. So. A diesel locomotive, you're going to be more confined. I think I have one consist of diesels that the Clinchfield was using at 50. So I will I'll just put a dummy packed with batteries and put a decoder in it just for the purposes of sound, and have 2 powered units. They're still powerful enough to pull the 30 cars that they would pull. Oh yeah, Prof's his tractor loco, he says, actually, Prof, if you had a way to drop a link on there so the guys could check out some of the pictures, it's been shown on here before. Martin just showed it. His dead rail system is actually more live rail than anything else because it's wood, literally wood rails. So his is battery power, wireless control, because wood is not the best conductor of electricity, let alone TCC. So, and he said he's getting about 50 minutes out of it run time, and this dead for 20 minutes while removing for charging purposes. But if you can charge in line, like pull up under my water towers over here and let it sit there for 10 minutes and, you know, pick up a little charge. That's entirely prototypical and interesting.
Hey, Ron, bye, Ron. Just another scale mauler came in.
Oh, hey, Robbie.
Yeah. Just as we're fixing to shut down. Cool Tropolis Small Railroads. Is Blue Rail the way to go, or a DCC system?
No.
I'm at the point where I need to pick one.
Okay, my opinion. It's all that you could say about any of this stuff. NCE versus Digitrax, whatever. It's all opinion. My opinion is that Blue Rail, the Bluetooth system, is an absolutely great system to replace the DC power packs when you set up your layout on a table or around a Christmas tree or things like that. Or if you have a small switching layout. It's an absolutely great system for that. If you're going to try to run a basement empire with it, it's not there yet and may never get there. And you're giving up a whole lot of things like JMRI and the ability to centrally control a lot of functions, let alone have all the advanced stuff like momentum control and sound. You know, as the most basic thing, you don't even have good quality sound for that. So, but Tab Valley has a system. TabValleyDepot.com has a system of wireless DCC. So it has a transmitter that goes on your DCC system and a bunch of receivers that go to your locomotives. And the real plus of the system is you use any other decoder you want. Any decoder. You use ESU or TCS or Tsunamis or whatever, or the factory decoder that come in your system, and you just add this, you know, just a receiver. It's just changing the transmission method of getting the DCC signal from being over the rails to through the air. And you can still use track power and just put 15 volts of power, or, well, 13.8 or whatever volts of power on the rails and not even worry about battery power. Or put a capacitor in it and don't wire your frogs, or go battery power. You have flexibility. And it's not expensive. I mean, especially if you build a DCC system like the DCC++ that I have, or if you have a Sprog, you don't need a bunch of boosters or anything. You don't need the power part of the DCC system. You just need the signal production.
Yeah, cool, Tropolis. Andy would be glad to discuss this with you in length if you want to come join him in a live chat sometime.
True, which that's about the entirety of my opinion on that. But yeah. I love talking this stuff. So
let me add this. At this point, Bluetooth is proprietary.
Yeah.
And it's one company that's doing it. And until it's developed so that everybody can do it, then you don't have the flexibility, like you said before, of all the other features and all the other systems.
It's a limited niche. For all the rest of us outside of that limited niche, DCC is still amazing.
If money is the issue, then maybe Bluetooth is a cheaper bet, but you're limited.
But you could build a DCC++ system for what you got to do it, or you could buy a Sprog that's already built. You could buy a Sprague and buy the DCC transmitter receiver set, and even go battery powered, not have to wire your track or deal with any of that stuff, and and run it off from a $25 Android phone that you buy the prepaid Android phones at Walmart. You could do the entirety of your control for still sub $200, and the sky's the limit. You could still do everything with that system, no limitations.
Not everybody has the electronic expertise that you have, Andy.
Oh, great. Well, that's why I mean the Sprague. The Sprague you just buy. It's just a little box. But you do have to be able to mess with JMRI for that. But actually, whoever's interested in that should join us on a show outside the live show, one of the after shows, and especially talk to Martin from Down Under about his Sprague Pi arrangement stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at this month's EMAG coming up. That one is about electronics and control systems, and Martin has an article about his Sprague Pi stuff in there that looks really good. Oh, and Chris has articles that several articles actually. You really got put to task this month, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, I did. So do you.
I got a couple as well. Yours are really good though. I'm really pleased.
You guys have just taken the surprise out of the issue.
Hey, everybody knew it was a control system. The only surprise was whether it was going to be good or not. But you do
Okay.
good.
Oh, I'm sure JD really liked hearing that one.
Oh, you do. But everybody, EMAGs are. JD always does an incredible job on it. But
Johnny, he just meant my articles. That's all.
everything I've seen so far this is my cup of tea. I love electronics, but I like scenery and headlight track. I like all of it. I love electronics. So this particular magazine has a spot. I love it.
All right, well, the 4:30 whistle has blown.
Oh, do we have to leave?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, he said.
You can stay. Just make sure you lock the door and turn the lights out.
Well, thanks for having me.
But don't lock Robert in like you did last time.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, but he always gets out. I don't get it.
Yeah, but he whimpered all night before he got out, so.
I heard it was Marty from Australia that let him out.
Yeah.
Oh, that little structure looks awesome, AJ. That's a cool. I've seen that. I need to buy that. That little entry. It's kind of got.
It's so tiny.
Well, it's in scale. Of course, it's tiny. A Ford Motor factory is tiny.
Even compared to a boxcar.
Yeah, just a little trackside shanty though for work crews. Like a little bunkhouse or something.
Or a New York City studio apartment.
Got a lot of personality.
That cost you $3,500 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, let's wrap this one up. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Appreciate everybody in the chat over there. Professors, Prof, it's always good to see you. And the rest of our friends down there in Australia. Also our good friends up in Canada, meaning Lloyd and Ralph here. And everybody else, appreciate y'all being on the panel. And we'll transition over here. Alright, just want to say go to YouTubeMallBuilders.com. There you can check schedules for the shows. The Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Saturday once a month live show. Tuesday and Wednesday is 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Thursday weekly show and the Saturday once a month live show are 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And while you're there, be sure and click on the EMAG icon and sign up for a notification of the EMAG so you'll know when it comes out. That's PDF, so you can download it, read it on a wide variety of devices. JD did want me to pass along that they are on vacation, and the EMAG will be, you know, just a few days, maybe about 5 days later, coming out this month. They've been working pretty hard all year, so they do deserve a vacation. So we said, okay, we'll let you have 2 days. Yeah, he talked us into about 4 or 5, so that's what he's doing. He's off with the family. But EMAG will be out. So also, you got the live show this Saturday, and Big Bill got a phone call, so he and his wife are having to go down south to Florida about a family member, and we wish them well on that. So he called me, and I will be hosting the live show Saturday night along with Barry. The guest for this month is Ron's Trains and Things, along with Ray Bobel. So that's going to be an interesting show, especially when you get Ray in there. You never know what's going to happen there. But anyway, Saturday show will be 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So be sure to catch that one on Saturday night. Also, all our shows are recorded, so they're on the YouTube channel, YouTube Mall Builders. And we do have playlists to make it a little easier to try and find any specific show you're looking for. So be sure to check out YouTube and YouTube Mall Builders for that. Alright, hope everybody has a good night, and we shall see you Saturday night, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, have a good one. Bye.
Good night.